How are you?
I am good. How are you, my friend?
I am good. So, for our listeners, I am Paula Collins, an enrolled agent and an attorney. And I am here with my colleague, Nikki Lawley, who is what are you? A medical cannabis advocate. And this is the WNY report. I
Boom
want to check.
slay.
Yes, I am checking my phone to make sure that we are live on both LinkedIn and Facebook.
Oh, let me turn
Um,
the chat on.
I didn't know you had to turn on the chat.
Yeah, you got to turn it on. And if anybody's here and wants to play in the chat, just know if you're not a paid subscriber of LinkedIn, it just shows the LinkedIn user. So please put your name in, and then you can start using initials, and we'll try and keep up. Also, if we don't see your chat, if you don't see it on our screen, we don't see it either. Oh, there's John. You know John.
I know John. Hey, John.
Hi,
What's new?
John. He's been
Let
my
me.
buddy. We've got this whole cool thing going on, Paula, this Buffalo Cannabis Networking. Boom,
That looked
slay.
awesome.
It is
Yeah,
awesome. We keep
I
getting more and
really.
more people. Oh, there's KD with Canmar. Hey, KD. He's
Hi,
an,
KB.
a Canadian viewer.
Okay, I can't tell if we're on Facebook.
Oh, well, screw it. We got LinkedIn. That's all that matters. Those
Wow.
Facebookers can come on. If we see them, we see them.
Okay.
Yay! Well, at least we know we're live on LinkedIn. That's the biggest challenge.
So,
Katie
what?
has a
How was your
couple.
weekend? What have you got going on?
Woo! It was a busy one, my sister. Very busy. We had an educational event, Cannabis 101 for seniors, and that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty awesome. It was done at a senior center here in Buffalo, and the Dawson girls, aka Amani, Ice, and Dashida, and their nonprofit Cease Con is what it is on Instagram. It's CEASE CON. They put on this event. Acreage was a sponsor. Acreage is one
Oh,
of our
cool.
largest MSOs here in New York State, aka an RO/MSO, whatever you may know them as.
Whatever you want to call them. They've got a
Whatever
lot of.
you want to
They've got
call them at the end of the day.
all the initials.
At the end of the day, they're in a lot of states, including New York. And Brian Murray was there, who's like the head
I
of
like
government
him.
affairs. He's really a cool dude. Like,
I like
you
him a
know,
lot.
everybody poos on the MSOs, and I get
No.
it. I totally get it. I'm like the most community focused human that ever walked the face of the earth. But at the end of the day, we need to collaborate, not fight
Yeah.
against. And so I really like this approach and how they did it. So there had to be, I don't know, 50 or 60 older people. Like, definitely, I was one of the younger
Older than
Americans,
I am.
older than me. I mean, I'm 53, so I'm no spring chicken.
I'm a lot older than that.
You're not a lot older than that. Give me a break. But anyway, what are you, like 54.2? Give me a break. So but the event was pretty awesome. I was kind of surprised I wasn't on the panel, but that's okay. The three panelists were patients and they shared their stories and they were very interesting. Um, and it was Jordan's here. Look at
All
that.
right.
And so is Coach Sheila. Yeah. Go, Jordan. Go, Coach Sheila, KD, and John. Boom. And it was incredibly informative, and so many people learned so much. It was Cannabis 101 for seniors. And we had the majority leader there, Crystal People Stokes, Leah Halton Pope, one of the local district humans was there. I forget his last name. Don't kill me on that. But he's part of the Lovejoy district here in Buffalo. And it's like Brian something. And he's tagged in my Insta post if anybody looks at it. um, but really informative. And they gave out free cards. Jerry Frisicaro, an NP here in Buffalo, who has a horrific story. He's been overcome with a very aggressive leukemia.
Oh,
And
wow.
kind of a funny story, but not really. I walk into the center, and there's this guy standing there with a really dark, deep voice, like Jerry has, my friend. And like, I thought it was him. And Brian Murray's standing there, and they're just talking. And he's like, "This is Nikki Lawley." And I'm like, "I know Jerry." And I give him this hug. And I'm like, "I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad everything's okay." It wasn't Jerry. Long
Oops.
story short, it was not Jerry. And
Oops.
so he came in later, and I mean, I felt beyond stupid. But I mean, who's this woman embracing me with all of her finesse? But anyway, the event was really good. I think there were at least 20 people that ended up getting their medical card for free. And
Okay,
Jerry
good.
actually did it for free. I'm like, why aren't you getting paid? Like, doctors charge 150 bucks for this all day. He's like, it's a plant that grows from the earth. Why should I not give it for free? I mean, tell me that's not an amazing human story.
Well, that is amazing. And haven't we changed the rules in New York so that now any doctor can
Yes,
write it?
yes,
They do still have to take, what is it, a 3 hour or 6 hour course? I think it's only
I
three
think
hours.
three.
It used to be longer than that. It was long enough that a physician had to really think, do I want to spend my time doing that? So,
Well, I don't think it's pretty much a no-brainer. I think we have a lot more providers now. I mean, the last time I heard, it was like close to 5,000 providers that have been prescribing cannabis in New York State compared to like when I started the program, there were like 500. So, I
and you
mean,
can,
that's big.
assuming that the physician is, yeah, I agree, John, it would be a great campaign, Free for Seniors. Assuming that the physician has taken the course,
Hmm.
um, can they write it just like, okay, let me get to the bottom line here. When I took my older friend to the doctor in Maine, any MD can write for cannabis. And the idea is that we're gonna educate them as time goes on, and or perhaps in the context of other continuing ed credits that they have to take. But in any case, um, I took her to the doctor. We talked about cannabis to get her off of oxycodone. Um, the doctor wrote it there and got my card and her card, my card as a caregiver, right there in the office.
Oh,
It was printed before we left the office,
that's
which I thought
awesome.
was super cool, and it cost nothing.
What?
So yeah, so maybe New York is like catching on.
I don't know, but check this out, Paula. On Friday, I heard that I'm going to be on the live with OCM.
Boom,
Who's going to be on the live with OCM? This girl,
Nikki,
Nikki
Nikki,
is, and
and that's for their new health
their new medical
initiatives.
cannabis focus campaign. And
Okay,
I'm
good.
so excited. I'm with another woman. I'm not familiar with her story yet, but I'm sure I will be.
I'm
Um,
sure you will be.
and Emma
Sorry, I'm not.
Chasson, who is the head of education, is putting that on. And I mean, I'm just excited because I feel for the first time I'm finally getting heard after 5 years of droning the same message almost, just trying to bring awareness to the importance of medical cannabis and stop forgetting about the patient voice. So, one of these women that was on the panel was I've never seen someone so excited to jump on a sinking ship or a crashing plane.
So
Sure, John.
let's play nice. Let's play nice. I think the medical marijuana initiatives that they're trying to launch are
They
significant.
really are trying to not, they're trying to come to the table and do it right. I mean, I can honestly say, after my couple-hour call with these humans, they were nice people. They were not jerks. They were not arrogant. I mean, I've met a lot of people at OCM, and I have not met a real jerk. You know what I'm saying? Like we might not agree with their policies, we might not agree with a lot of the things going on behind the scenes, but none of them as people have been bad people. Like I didn't get like ooh spidey senses or anything like that. And I just got to say, I'm really excited to have my voice heard from the OCM and a medical platform because I think they need it. I think people in the community will respect my story and the fact that OCM is finally listening. I think
Yeah.
that's really going to be a productive move for all of us.
Um,
And then after that, we have the gala coming up February 3rd.
so you sent me a link. Tell me
Yes.
about the gala.
So the gala is an initiative for a nonprofit called Bloom, BLOOM underscore rock, ROC for Rochester. And it's Precious and Brandy. Precious, they have different last names, but I just know them both as Hester, and I know one of them's Hester and one of them's Brown, but I don't know which one's which. So they also run EEWC, which is Elevating Entertaining with Cannabis. And there are two women that have just literally made it their mission to kind of do the right thing for those most impacted by the plant, whether it's social justice, whether it's social equity, whether
Mhm.
it's, just bringing people to the table. And one thing I've got to be honest, I was really surprised they honored me because I'm actually getting an award for like Advocate of the Year or something. I don't know the exact wording, but it was really humbling because I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel seen. I feel like, anyone in the cannabis industry knows who I am, but people outside the cannabis industry, not so much. That's why I was really excited about this community initiative because it really started to normalize that conversation. I mean, no one heard my story, but that's fine. It's not about Nikki Lawley. It's about bringing plant medicine to the table. And
Yeah,
that's what I'm all
totally.
about. So
Totally.
it's not about the applause, it's for the cause. And so it's just very humbling. Like, I'll never forget. I mean, I was named top 100 people in cannabis industry, and I have Jordan to thank for that. He put me in an article that recognized me, and I mean that was a big deal. Also, women in cannabis, top women in cannabis in New York State. These are just to know that my work isn't in complete vain. To know that
Mhm.
I, beat my head up against a wall to try and do the right thing and to hear it be recognized is just pretty awesome. So this gala is going to have the majority leader People Stokes. It's going to have Jeremy Cooney. It's going to have several politicians from the Rochester area. And the grand opening for Rise Dispensary, aka Green Thumb Industries, is also that day from 12 to 2. And Andre Reed, so this is very Western New York. Andre Reed used to play for the Bills, big football player guy. He's going to be at that grand opening for Rise. So I really want to get there early and do that, but I'm going to be all fluffed and buffed, and it's going to kind of feel a little weird. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be coming in all gowned up and hair floofed out, and I mean, I'm going to look like I don't belong, but that's okay. Um, but yeah, so I'm kind of super pumped about that. And Paula, we would love to have you if you can swing the Rochester experience. It's
I would
Saturday the
love to
3rd.
be there. I have to be in Watertown, New York this week. Um, so
Maybe we
I'm
can make it
planning
a
to,
twofer.
no, because I have to be back. So I go from here to Syracuse, and then I rent a car to drive to Watertown, do the court appearance, drive back, and catch a plane.
Damn.
2 days, 1 day up, 1 day back.
What day?
Tuesday to Wednesday.
Oh. Well, I
And
don't
then I
know. I think we have some clients for you here in Buffalo that maybe you need to just like plan on
okay.
being out of NYC. Because
All
like
right.
I'm an hour from Rochester. And then we could like ride together to Rochester and smoke some of the GTI. I think I
Okay.
didn't bring it down here.
Let me
Um,
let me figure this out. I would like to do that.
yeah, I
Um,
really think you'd get a lot out of it. Jordan with Marino is actually doing a lot of the fundraising for Cooney's campaign. Is it Cooney or Cooney? I don't know. Is it Onny or MMY?
Cooney.
It's Cooney.
Cooney.
NEY. Cooney. Got it.
Cooney. Yeah,
Got it. Got it. So I was right the first time. Good to know.
absolutely.
Hi, Sherry Mack. Nice to see you here. Oh, she's on Facebook. So, hey, look at that. It is live on Facebook.
Oh, it
Good
is live on
play.
Facebook. Okay. All right. Good.
And John, you're so sweet. You're a boss, Nikki. You're definitely seeing operators in Cali and California who know me because of my NECAN talk. Oh, how humbling. Didn't I meet you for the first time at NECAN Boston?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget where we first met. I know that I started following you on Facebook, and no, I think I first met you at Nikan Albany.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I wasn't speaking that year. I just was an attendee. Okay.
And I met you with your husband.
Yeah,
And
that was
then
NECAN Albany.
speaking to the power of the plant, that's probably going back 3 years ago. And um it I can see so much healing of, post accident, post traumatic brain injury, because the first couple of times I met you, you did not remember me, and you would say you had this little thing scripted that I'm sure we've met, I'm sure we've spoken, I'm sure you're very nice, but I have a traumatic brain injury and I don't remember. And it was just very, very humble and honest, um and now you remember people. I see you work a room, and I really do attribute that recovery to the plant.
The plant. Power to the
Yeah,
plant. And it really is true. Hi, Melissa. It really is true. Without cannabis, there's no question in my mind, Paula, I would not be here, nor would I be thriving, nor would I be looking for a job to be employed full time because after my injury, I couldn't function. I mean, I couldn't be
yeah.
trusted at a job. I couldn't even count change. And I still have a little bit of struggle. I don't belong in a bud tender role, I'll be honest. Um, just because it might take me 10 minutes just to count back the change for the 20. So that's a thing. But I'm smart in other ways. I'm differently abled. I mean,
Yeah, I would say.
instead of saying disabled, like, you're a failure and you suck, I'm differently abled. And the plant has allowed that different ability to kind of shining through. And I
Yeah.
mean, am I a little too hyper? Am I a little too passionate? Maybe. But at the end of the day, that's who I am, and can I tame it down? Can I behave? Absolutely. But I think one of the big reasons I have so many followers and so many people are into it is because I'm my authentic self. I'm unapologetic of where I've been, where I am now, and where I'm going in the future. I
Mhm.
really try and live in the moment and enjoy and focus on nothing else than what's going on right then.
Mhm.
Because if you look behind you, you're always going to get depressed. If you look in front of you, you're always going to have anxiety, like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to pay my bills? Blah, blah, blah. Because you live in the here and now. Cannabis allows you to live in the here and now and enjoy this conversation and enjoy all the people watching us. And, hopefully we all take away something from this. I never
Mhm.
want to be the smartest person in the room or on the chat or anywhere. I always, always, always learning. So let's talk about the shit show of lawsuits coming on.
Well, we
Let's
had a new
dive
one
into
filed
that.
this week, right?
Yeah, so we had
A
one
brand
on the
new one,
26th, right?
and you know, we all saw it coming. We all knew that there would
Yeah.
eventually be a lawsuit based on the affirmative action thing. In fact, I really wondered if they didn't need to redo the regs after the Supreme Court had issued that ruling. The ruling dealt with the universities, right, and their admissions process with regard to affirmative action. And the court
Paula,
said,
stop me there. What is affirmative action for those of us who are not lawyers?
so affirmative action is that thing that says, well, and it's no longer something that we do apparently. So it's that thing that will give consideration for hardship or for ethnicity or poverty or especially race, and allow that to give somebody a little edge in applications. So
Okay.
application for a job, applications for college admissions. Um, and the Supreme Court said that affirmative action is no longer needed in our country, um,
Hmm.
because the Supreme Court justices felt that we are far enough after the Civil Rights Act, and that it's all equal now. We're all good, is what the Supreme Court said. Now we
Hmm.
don't. Now, not
Interesting.
obviously,
The
not everybody on
white,
the court felt that.
white on the South Supreme Court. Are they all white people? Like, who would think that? Like, that's just like,
Um,
that's silly. I mean, Clarence, whatever Thomas isn't, but
right,
really?
and Katanji, Jackson Brown Jackson, um, is a woman of color, and we
Wow.
have Justice Sotomayor, who is a woman, a Latina, and yeah, John D'Angelo was saying they said it was discriminatory. It was just, and so basically, I wondered after that lawsuit, and I talked to um, oh, they said it was discriminatory. They didn't say they thought we were equal society. I think in some of their writings they did, and in some of what came out afterwards, they said, you know what, we've kind of moved. Or actually, it was maybe it was Sotomayor's dissent that said, we haven't moved on. Maybe that's where I'm getting it from, John. But in any case, I wondered then whether OCM did not have to redo its regs and whether every social equity program in the country didn't suddenly have a problem. And so we've all been sort of waiting for this lawsuit. Um, I think many of us find the complaint, which is the document that you file when you say, hey, I'm suing somebody, here's why. Um, Many of us find the complaint offensive. Um,
Can you share what that complaint is for those viewers that may not be familiar with it?
Well, it's, the lawsuit is filed by a white man, and he goes through and talks about how he feels like he's being discriminated against as a white man. And then he goes through each
Oh, I
board
think I
member.
saw
Yeah,
that. I
you saw
saw
what
that on
Brad wrote.
Insta.
Yeah, and what Brad wrote.
Yes,
So,
on what Brad wrote. Yes, Brad
yeah,
Racino did a big, and I thought it was a joke. Like I couldn't believe
no,
this was actually in someone's lawsuit. Like
yeah.
Tremaine, I think he actually named like Tremaine Wright. Although
Is
she
a,
has dark skin color, it doesn't mean she's black or I don't even remember the wording. It was just so messed up. I'm like reading it and I'm like, what?
yeah.
Yeah, it was a little whacked. Okay, it's coming back to me.
So, Um, it's interesting. You really do. There are a lot of us in law that, we're lawyers, but we do contracts, or I do tax. I do contracts too. I do bankruptcy. Um, and that's different than being a litigator, where you have to know the procedures for filing. E-filing can be quite the quagmire because you have a lot of drop-down menus when you're attaching your documents, and you want to make sure you make the right menu choice. And um, honestly, in a lot of cases, the paralegals know more about how to actually literally file a suit than the lawyers do. The
I
lawyers know how to
believe
write
this.
stuff. So
Doctors and nurses, same kind of concept.
exactly. So so you I don't know this lawyer that filed the lawsuit. I will say that there are a lot of things about his style that were notable. For example, at the end of his thing, he put copyright 2024 and his name. Well, we don't copyright a court filing
Lawsuit?
because it's
Okay.
public record.
Yeah.
So that was unusual. So you may have seen me on LinkedIn. I just did a post that did the copyright symbol.
You're such a
Just
baller. Um,
and then in nothing happened. And so in the comment I said, for context, look at the last page of the complaint by Valencia. So currently we have the V's. V is for Valencia. V is for Veracite. So our
yeah,
two
it's a V
lawsuits,
thing.
and I've heard rumblings from more than one source that there is another lawsuit that we can expect.
I heard that as
So
well.
so it'll be like, you know, the
Hopefully it's not a
trifecta.
V one.
We should all, yeah, really, the VV. We should all go to the horse track because we've got a trifecta here. So, um,
And I mean, obviously, the concern with these lawsuits, just again, laying it out in plain layman's terms, the fear of a TRO, aka temporary restraining order, that will literally pretty much put a halt to anybody that's not currently open, most likely in the event one was ordered, correct?
well, so that's what I was kind of getting at with this guy and his format, and really the Veracite lawsuits as well. Um, Thank you, Joseph.
Thank
So
you, Joseph.
the the norm when you file a lawsuit is you file the complaint, you have to give notice to the parties, you have to summon them, and then if you're asking for something like a temporary restraining order, you need to ask for it. It's not really offered freely, and you have to do a motion, and you have to. What the common practice in New York is, not only do you post the motion, but you also need to draw up an order that the judge is ready to sign. And so, um, and usually what happens is that the parties submit, the lawyers really submit documents arguing their position, and then there's a hearing, and the judge listens as well as reads through everything, or probably the judge's clerks read through everything and advise the judge, and then a decision is made. Now, I keep meaning to go back through the first Veracite lawsuit, and read the docket, because I remember there were a couple of things that they did not file correctly. Because remember, the Veracite people are from California, so
Yes,
they don't even know
New York law.
e-filing practice, which,
Right.
why not just hire a New York lawyer to represent you? But
Yeah.
they don't. But in this case, even OCM lawyers who are attorney generals, Office of the Attorney General, they had some misfilings. But in the Veracite case, and then also in the New Valencia case, the party who is filing hasn't asked, hey, I want to be heard. The norm is, if I were filing a lawsuit, I would say, I have been so harmed that I need us to be in court in 3 days to have an
Mm,
order to show cause why I shouldn't get some temporary relief while we're all trying to sort through this. And so the OTSC, or order to show cause, um, is what kind of gets everybody riled up. And so the Veracite case was filed a few weeks ago, and we were just in court on Friday, and we still don't have a ruling. I
mm.
could see that, and I had a number of people texting me saying, well, what do you think that means? That the fact that different judge, by the way, the Valencia case is under the judge who was on the first
There's like,
Veracite case,
hmm
but the new Veracite case has a new judge, or a different judge. She's not new.
really
And then the Valencia case is back under
the
the,
first
the
guy.
the first guy. So a lot of people were asking me, well, what do you think it means that she didn't give an answer from the bench? She's reserved it. And I said, well, in my opinion, it doesn't really look good, because if she were so offended by the idea of an injunction, she would have said, I read your briefs, I read your arguments, I've heard you speak. You have no valid points. Yeah.
Hmm
Um, go off and enjoy your weekend. But in this case, she's kind of waiting. And if I were a judge, which that will never happen, I will never be a judge. But um, if I were a judge, I would have to think long and hard before I imposed yet another injunction on the state of New York cannabis. But and we do know that and I'd have to go back and look at Fatima Afia's post, but she
Mm.
pointed out that there were some aspects of the argument that the judge threw out and said you have no standing to ask for this. So standing means that you can really say that this is your argument. Like for example, and this is not obviously what happened in the case. For example, Nikki, I could not go to court and sue for your traumatic brain injury. Your injury is your injury. You can sue. I don't have standing to sue. Okay.
Okay.
So there was something, and I regret to say that I've been so busy with other card related activities that I haven't really delved into what Fatima meant by that. But there was something that was tossed out immediately. And then no answer. So do we expect to get an answer early in the week? Kind of. But, a judge is a judge. And there
They
is
can
no
take as long
timeline.
as they want.
There is no timeline that is mapped out. So, and then
Wow.
in the Valencia suit, the parties have not asked. There is no order to show
There's no.
cause. There
Okay.
is no motion for. They do ask in their complaint for an injunction, but they don't do it in a separate motion. So, that would say we're going to have our pre-conference hearing. We're going to go
Long time.
into, and so that could be a while. I think they're
Well,
not in court again until April.
wow. Really?
I think, yeah.
Let's hope
I
they
mean,
don't
it's the
reserve
end of
it for a
January.
420.
Yeah,
That would suck.
I'd have to look that up, but I think it was April. It was a long time. And then, we still have the beverage case. That's not been resolved. We still have the Department of Justice case, which the rumor is that the government is going to ask to dismiss it. That's the big one. That is the big one that could.
Fill me in.
I
want to know about the big one.
The big one is, I believe it's filed in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And they are saying that the Controlled Substances Act is unconstitutional and an overstretch of government authority. And with all of these states rolling out their regulated industries, we should just all federally legalize.
Legalize or not decriminalize, not reschedule, legalize.
Because if we have no Controlled Substances Act, we have no schedule.
So they're talking about actually throwing out the Controlled Substances Act? Wow, that's pretty sick. I don't see how that can't happen. Can it?
Well, we're in a different place now. We've got another lawsuit in the Supreme Court where they want to sort of dismantle the ability of the government to have these different enforcement agencies. And so,
wow.
I don't know.
Now, that is a big one.
Now, it is true that we're expecting the government to, I think the government has asked to dismiss the case. So we'll see what happens. But the lawyers on that case are they are not slouches. It's David Boies.
Something not. To go after the feds, I would think you got
and his firm, David Boies, is no slouch. And so
pretty ballsy.
Yeah. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening in New York. There's a lot happening in other states. I wish it could be different because I wish that we could all just get on with the business of running business.
Kumbaya. I'm all
Kumbaya.
About
it. The hemp situations are very, very jagged, and it's all the more perplexing how to advise a client in hemp. It's almost more perplexing how to advise a client on hemp than it is in anything
On
else.
cannabis. Right, right. Yeah, I get that. I
Yeah.
mean, the farm bill was supposed to be the farm bill, and now all kinds of stuff is coming out of it. Different states are saying this substance banned from the hemp stuff, and this substance is banned. You know, no Delta 8, Delta 9 sketchy. And there's all kinds of people operating in the CBD space that, in theory, they're not supposed to be selling their products in New York anymore.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
as of end of December, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, how can you do that to someone's business? Just say, we decided, puff goes the magic dragon, no more operational. That's a little stressing.
Yeah.
I will say I got a whole different perspective from Brian Murray from Acreage. We talked about Schedule 3 and rescheduling. And I'm like, Brian, that's so dangerous, isn't it? Like, aren't we a little nervous about that? And I learned something. He had a whole different take on the whole situation. He's like, it's not going to hurt the adult use programs. And now you're going to have medical insurance covering cannabis that is prescribed by a doctor. So it's a win in many cases, but I don't know. I'm just, I guess, not being a lawyer, not understanding the full implications make me not the best source for advisement in this issue.
Yeah. I see John's remark because it helps Brian, but what about the small producer? The
Okay.
small producer who's making gummies and pre-rolls, who then has to incur considerable expense and also put his business or her business on hold for 2 years waiting for FDA approval.
Yeah, and when you look at the Schedule 3 drugs, I mean, it's still like oxy. It's still like narcotic level stuff. It's not like it's cigarettes.
Even if you look at the Schedule 4, there's something on the Schedule 4 that's like shocking.
Yeah.
Is it ketamine or something?
It might
I
be
forget.
like Adderall stuff, I think maybe. But I don't quote me on that because I don't have the list in front of me. But yeah, when I looked at the Schedule 3, I mean, the only huge news I saw out of going to Schedule 3 is the ability to do more research and insurance potentially covering cannabis. But don't try to use logic. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot that I don't get, and that's why I'm not a lawyer. But I don't, it's almost like it's all in the fine print, if you will.
I
Like,
don't think it's even in the fine print. It's
no,
in whatever darted across their minds at that moment. Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense. Hello, Chardell. Thank you for joining us. And John, we're reading all your comments. Thank you for participating. Right now, it's white collar crime, selling Schedule 3. It's a felony. So, like, obviously, if I sold my oxy to Paula, that's a felony. So, are we going to have the same thing if they move cannabis to Schedule 3? Is that going to be a felony if I sell you cannabis? I think is what John's point is.
You're welcome, Chardell. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
So we've got lawsuits, but in the meantime, I gotta say, I have just been so busy. A lot of, and the frustrating thing about all of the injunctions is that it feels like it takes about a month to 6 weeks after an injunction is lifted to get the whole machine going again, right? And so it's about a month to 6 weeks after the last injunction was lifted. And my phone is ringing off the hook. We were in the middle of it. We had the application period. Okay, we did that. But
then the
now
list.
I've got,
Don't forget the list.
yeah, well, as we said last week, I ignore the list. I don't listen to the list. But Yeah, I did have somebody text me very late at night. I want to say it was around 11 o'clock at night. Does it mean anything if I'm not on the list at all? So I said,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't. Go to sleep. Because we really don't know. We absolutely don't know. But in any case, the phone is ringing off the hook with investors wanting to match with card licensees, and the opposite, card people coming to me and saying, hey, I hear you work with a lot of people, and maybe you've got somebody who's got money and or a location. So I have long wanted a situation where OCM would help to broker these deals, or at least advise us on the deals. There is, I don't know if you know Hillary Yu
I
is her
feel
last name.
she follows me. Yeah, I mean we're
Okay,
connected.
so Hillary, I first met Hillary some years ago on the Revel here
Oh,
in,
on the Revel, that's where I know her from.
yeah,
That's
it was,
exactly it.
and they do that really, really good boot camp, which is so awesome. I don't
It's
know if
in New
there's
York
one.
City, so us Western New Yorkers kind of get screwed out of that one. But yeah,
Right, right. We should find a way to have them do a road trip. I don't know that they've done one since CARD, but in any
okay.
case, Hillary is now helping OCM. I guess she's been contracted by OCM to help do some of this matchmaking. So she reached out to
Oh,
me on LinkedIn and we connected. Um, so we talked. I do wish OCM would create um, templates, because when you put together one of these deals, you need to, when you're matchmaking between the investor and the card, you need to have a contract that talks about, are there shares being bought or sold, shares in that corporation. Um, and of course, the card licensee must maintain 51%
hmm,
ownership. Um, and if there's one investor, that's going to leave the other part to 49%. But what do you do if um, I see Karen, but she's a broker. She's like trying to help, like just a template, just some kind of guideline. Um, but so there's the 49%, but what do you do in a year if the business needs more money? Then you're looking at
right.
debt, right? So how do you structure these? And then there's the operating agreement, and then there's the business of working with the card licensee to get through that second round. Yeah, that is true. They do need to
They do need to be
stay
focused on the
focused.
current tasks at hand. I'll agree with that
Um,
completely.
but I mean, if they're going so far as to offer DASNY paperwork, then they could help out other areas. All or nothing. Then stay away from DASNY partnerships. But in any case, they are not offering any help. So working through some of these agreements and putting it all together, and making it make sense for all of the parties involved. I did see a term sheet this week that was very unfavorable to the investor. There was no, and then even when I looked at the contract, there was no timeline or clarity on how or when the investor would get paid back. It was just left in very vague terms like, oh, the available cash. Well, who determines what cash is available? And
Yeah,
at what point do you
interval,
say,
timeline,
yeah,
or
do you do that
financial.
before taxes? Do you do that before vendor contracts? Or do you do that before? So, the things that have to be paid are the vendor contracts and the taxes. So then you also have to pay the rent. You have to pay, even though it's not tax deductible, you've got to pay for marketing and so on and so forth. So at what point do you determine, okay, now we're going to do the 51-49% split of the available cash? This is where we're calling the available cash. And then how is it that if the investor put in all this money up front, how is it that they're going to get paid? Because if they're only getting paid the 49% distribution, that's not really equalizing. Or maybe it is. Maybe the parties agree that the license was worth
was
so
worth
much
the
money.
51% compared to, but there should be
Yeah.
a figure in mind, and it should definitely have parameters. So, lesson learned, we invested in a company in Canada in a dispensary. It was a clinic slash dispensary. And just kind of like you're exactly describing, there was no term sheet. Like, okay, you invested $50,000 with us. You're going to be paid in 3 years no matter what, because you've given us this
Hmm.
50,000. Unless we go liquid, then you've invested and you're screwed. Well, that's kind of happened. Okay. Like, there was never a payment plan of how to
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
that initial money back. Lesson learned.
And you can do it in a couple of different ways. You could do it on a calendar basis. After 6 months, we're going to do this distribution and then thereafter every 90 days, whatever. Or you could do it when certain revenue points are made, when the business
Yes.
is making an average of X amount of dollars per day for 30 days, or when the
Right.
business has made X amount of dollars in total.
But there's the
But
investor is just as important as a vendor. Do you know what I
well,
mean? Like they deserve getting
absolutely.
paid back too. So I mean,
Yeah.
if they're nice enough to give you $100,000 for a round number's sake, and you own 51%, let's say you're the investor on the card, and I'm just pissing away the money, spending money on more advertising, or I need more trips, or I need more exposure and go to different conventions. That money that would normally be in the kitty is now being spent, but the investor should, I mean, I don't care if it's $100 a month at first,
Right, right, right.
until such time as you're both gainfully equating into cash.
Well, the other thing is so I'm hearing all kinds of valuations on the licensing. And I'm even hearing the investors coming in saying, the guy tells me the license is worth 2.6 million. And so, um, I want to be a part of this because obviously if the license is worth that much, there's a lot of money to be made. And I said, dude, oh, like, how are
Like,
you
where they
even
come up with that
measuring?
2.6, and when it's a brand new industry, and let's say you're in BFE in some archaic county of New York State, I guarantee you your valuation should not be $2.6 million just because you got a license.
But it
I'm just
seems
saying.
like the shops in BFE are doing better than the shops in
The
Lower East
city.
Side.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, I feel
so
that's why what the Western New York Report is so important, is bringing awareness to this area, because I'm not
716
competing.
Dank,
Huh?
716 Dank, 716 Dank.
716
Um,
Dank. We got lots of good places. You've got your Buffalo Dreams here.
Buffalo Dreams is going to come online pretty
You've
soon. That
got
is in the works.
in the works. We got so many. And OCM, we're up to 59 now, Paula. I mean,
59.
59. It's almost
Well,
69. Dinner for
so
two. No, just kidding.
so
Um,
never mind. Um, so there's what is the value of the license? But then, like in a couple of cases, a guy is giving up, and when I say guy, it could be a woman, a person, an individual, is giving up a property that they either have the lease on or they own. What is that worth? Are you going to total it by 4 years of the lease? But then wait, the company is going to start paying rent eventually. So, and then what is the value of everybody knowing that there was, in some cases, a smoke shop there, and so they're used to going there, and they've got the traffic, they've got the following, and now we're just going to turn the key and it's a licensed shop. I mean, obviously a lot has to happen. We're not just going to turn the key, but a lot has to happen there. But they've got the following, and so what is that worth? And
right,
so,
right. Or
uh,
what if you've built out a dispensary for a hemp store with the intention of knowing that
mm,
you're going to
And
get a
that's,
license.
I've got a
And I
deal
mean,
like
that's
that.
worth something. Like, that's worth something because you've established yourself, even if it's for a year. I think of like Sativa Remedy here we have in Western New York. She's like
Mhm.
got a great following, a hemp store that's been operational for a long time, Green Philosophy 716. I mean, these are people that already have foot traffic. They're ready to go, and yet they're not on the list of 250. But the list, as we have discussed last week, is not the be all end all.
Yeah.
So it's just very frustrating and hard to navigate. And when you are figuring out these valuations, these are things you really got to consider. I mean, and that's what sold us on this deal in Canada, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We believed in the human running it. We believed in what they were doing. They would never screw us. They were in hard times, but man, they were going to make zillions because they're going to
Yeah.
open up all these different dispensaries and they're going to do this. They were one of the first lottery winners in Ontario, the first 25 to be released. We believed we were just going to be sitting back, feeling fat, dumb, and happy.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, we got no money back.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something up in Massachusetts. Um, there's a dispensary that's opening in downtown Massachusetts, and they went on Mainvest. So you can find them. Go to Mainvest, which is kind of like a crowdfunding platform, and search
Oh,
cannabis. Apex Noir is the name of the shop. Um, and they have a definite timeline for repayment.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Maybe some people out there that are listening should check out Mainvest.
yeah,
And
I did actually.
nice, nice.
Um,
You and your
yeah,
lawyerese self. Very cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
very good information, John. Yeah, it depends on whose hand it's in, and again,
But that kind of
the,
gets exploited though, because like my unlicensed guys think, oh, I'll make $1 million. I've made it already. And it's like, dude, it is a different game. It's a
way different,
completely different game.
way different.
Anyway, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I'm just saying everyone thinks it's going to be this multi-zillion dollar industry. And in reality, once they start really understanding what 280E is, once they really start understanding the tax structure, once they understand this net 30, you got to actually pay your bills. You can't just kind of coast along. I mean, these are all hard expenses that have to be taken into consideration. And I don't think a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot. I think there's many people that don't understand what 280E is and what the ramifications are on a business compared to a normal business. They think that they're
Mm,
just jumping in like they've been running the restaurant and they can write all this stuff off. But at the end of the day, no, you can't.
yeah.
Um,
Karen makes some good points. I do wonder how many cards the OCM has approved to make a modification. Um, I don't know. These deals have yet to be really navigated. I think that's true. And how many of the people who have been running in the gray market they're going to approve? I have no idea.
well, if they took that mentorship class, they're supposed to be fine.
Well, I mean, we've had some pretty high profile things that have come about with branding and so forth.
I know. I
Um,
mean, like, what happened to we're only going to have New York State brands, but yet every day you see a new California brand hitting the shelves. I'm not saying they're doing it illegally. I'm saying there's licensing agreements that originally were never part of the whole plan, correct?
yeah,
like like now that's happening all the time, and
cook.
they're literally successful brands. Like, am I going to buy a Rove cart or am I going to buy a Head and Heel cart? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Rove because it's been all over the country. I don't know Head and Heel, but I've had a positive experience with Rove, so I'm going to go to the Rove cart. But that's not helping the small guy. Do you know what I mean? That's not helping the little New York State brand because we just don't know what his story is or her story or what the good is in that cartridge because we've had another experience. I mean, that's like a big deal. Like, I'm somebody who's traveled the country and knows a lot of different markets. And if I saw a product that came from Curaleaf that I had a positive experience with, I'm most likely going to go for the New York Curaleaf. I'm not going to necessarily try the craft grower stuff because I've had a positive experience with Curaleaf. And I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying the average consumer, if they're a frequenter, that's something that they're going to automatically kind of do. In my opinion.
So there all true. Before we sign off here, which I'm still at my office, I'm just going to point that out on a Sunday night. Do I
Sunday
have no
night,
life?
workaholic.
Workaholic, yeah. We had an abruptly canceled, bless you, an abruptly canceled OCM
Oh
meeting.
yeah, let's talk
We
about
forgot
that
to talk
shadiness.
about that.
That was a big ass thing, a big thing.
Because, well, I mean, what made me think of it is I was thinking, yeah, we're going to have to sign off soon. Let's kind of bring it to a close. What are we looking for this week? Well, it has been crickets since that happened, right? I did get one letter I've been waiting for several months from OCM. So obviously people are still working there, right? And that happened the day after they canceled the meeting. So people are still employed. You've been in contact with OCM. But there are some rumors going around. But they are only rumors. Nobody really knows. So what we hope for this week is that we'll get clarity. The persistent rumor is that the governor was looking for significantly more licensees to be announced in that meeting, and
Because they were only going to do three correct?
Dispensaries, right?
Yeah,
and then a couple of micro business,
and a couple
couple of
research
process,
licenses, and a couple
and
research licenses.
oh, was it research license? I thought it was processor.
Researchers.
So thank you, Chardell. Good night. But so I'm kind of looking for some clarity there on what's happening with OCM. Obviously, we're looking to the courts.
Now, the 17th or something of February, they aren't having a meeting in New York City like it was originally planned. They're having it in Albany.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, check it out, Jeffrey Hoffman. Go to the Ask Me Anything guy.
Well, and today,
and he
speaking
found
of
it on the site, and it wasn't like a big notice. He found it in a different place, but it's going to happen. He mentioned that that's caucus week or something that week. And so it makes sense that it's going to be in Albany because a lot of political influence is going to be there. And so in his mind, that made sense, but it seems kind of detrimental to the people in New York City who are planning on having their voice heard, who are planning on having a public comment period, public expression of
we have
voice.
Amtrak. Huh? Amtrak gets you there. It's really not that big of a deal for us to go from New York City to Albany.
Okay.
So people can just pipe down. It is the state capital, right?
Yeah, it is.
The other thing, speaking of Jeffrey, he went to an event today. I was working. I thought of going. The thing with our state senator Kirsten Gillibrand, where she's actually hoping for descheduling.
Federally, right?
I'm wondering if she isn't too late. Like it seems like the ball is in play, definitely towards rescheduling. So, but I did notice
the ball seems really in play. Like we're
balling. Nadler was there. So we'll see. I don't know. My concern is that it's kind of like in anything in politics. If you split that vote, nothing's going to happen. So we could get beyond this debate on scheduling, descheduling, rescheduling, and at the end of the session, have nothing. That it'll just stay.
At the end of the day, you either have to vote red or you have to vote blue, and you can't waver. I'm sorry, independents just don't have the same weight because there's not enough play behind the independents to really make a difference. So you're either on one side or you're on the other. And it's really hard to be in the middle. And I tend to be a very middle liar with heavy tendency toward the left. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of votes get wasted and a lot of things don't happen because people A, don't vote because they don't like either candidate, B, they don't know enough that the independent vote is ultimately not going to do you good. I mean, people were writing in Biden's name at the New Hampshire primary. I mean, like, what good is that? This is the Republican thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, am I wrong here? Like, that's
Well, I
like
think
the
he didn't
thing.
need to be on the ballot because he's the incumbent or something. So Sharon is asking a question. What event was this? I think it was just a press conference or just an announcement made by the senator. And so, she put the word out that she would be there, and there were a couple of other politicians there in support. And basically, she was announcing that she is trying to advocate for descheduling,
Rescheduling.
not
Yes.
rescheduling. Um, We'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see. It's all a wait and see game, friends. Let's
It's a
wait and
very
see.
January feel, right?
Very
Where we're just,
January.
yeah, the whole thing
It's
in
dark
canvas.
and dreary outside, and now we're bringing it inside in a
Yeah,
lot of
we've had
ways.
solid rain on today. So,
Rain, go
um,
away.
yeah, nice. It was nice. Let's hope it's not too little too late, but we'll see where it all
Yeah,
goes.
facts.
The other thing, yeah, so I don't know. Do they really need to debate it? I don't know.
At the end of the day, I just want access for as many people as we can. And at the end of the
You got it.
day, this plant is medicinal. I don't care if you use it in the adult use market or the medical market, but it behooves you to be a medical patient in New York. The reason I say this is
It's
you
a
will have
lot cheaper.
access to medicine and you can go to either segment, but you're going to pay a lot less in the medical realm of things because the
Mhm.
taxes are not the same. So, I mean, that right there, go to nikkiandtheplant.org, check out LeafWell, get your card, super easy. Save $15 with code PLANT. Little plug there for Nikki and the Plant. But really, it really is good to get your medical card in the state, just saying. And
Boom.
guys, we're like out of time, but you have been joined by Paula Collins and Nikki Lawley with the Western New York Report. Be sure to tune in next Sunday night at 8 p.m. It's going to suck when we're on Super Bowl Sunday, just for the FYI.
Yeah, we
But
got to figure that one out. When is the Super Bowl?
I want to say like the 10th or something. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but it's
Well,
not
maybe
next
we can,
weekend.
let's figure that out.
All right, we might have to
Yeah.
do a reschedule because who's going to show up on Super Bowl Sunday, right?
Right.
I mean, I sure as hell don't want to. I mean, I love you, but I mean, that's like a lot. Super Bowl Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. So we might have to either skip a week or, but I hate to just change it days because we've gotten everybody kind of used to this 8 p.m. on Sunday thing. So we'll figure it out and we'll let you guys know, but definitely join us next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard for the Western New York Report with Paula Collins and Nikki Lawley. Well, it's supposed to be Nikki Lawley and Paula Collins, but whatever. You got it.
Whatever. We got it.
Peace,
Ciao.
friends.
Peace.
Ending stream.